When Romulus Augustule becomes the new emperor, Salvien do not realize at once that Orestes, the father of the young emperor and patricius of the empire, is his old friend. When he understands it, he is struck to the very depths of his soul. The minister and general of Attila became the regent and patricius, the commander-in-chief of the army, and his son is the emperor. Then comes a faint hope. Perhaps the young emperor will be a good sovereign under the direction of his experienced father. But he remembers what were the hopes of Galla Placidia for his son Valentinian and how they were later disappointed. In the summer of 476, Salvien decides to try to meet and talk with Orestes. The regent receives him surprisingly quickly. In the same room of the imperial palace, where Salvien usually spoke with Galla Placidia, the two robust old men clasp their hands gleefully. Orestes simply says, "When I was told your request, I realized right away who it was. You know, we have many years. There are not many people of our generation left, and that is, perhaps, our last conversation." Salvien rejoices. "I am very glad that you remembered a modest officer. I noticed you the last time on a white horse at the head of one of the Hun armies leaving his camp on the Catalonian fields. Now you are the regent of the empire." The patrician says with unhidden sadness, "Yes, I lived an interesting life. I only regret that Attila died so soon. Indeed, he could live as long as we did. The world would then be very different." Salvien asks, "That's a question I wanted to ask you. You still think that Attila was able to create a stable Roman Hunnic empire and ensure the Pax Hunna Romana from Spain to the Urals and the Aral Sea?" Orestes shakes the head affirmatively. He missed her only a few years. "Why do you doubt it? It's very nice for me to discuss this. I am ready to answer all your questions." A lively discussion begins. First, Salvien remarks, "I am disturbed by the rapid disintegration of the Hun Empire after the death of Attila. There's been a lot of hazards here. First, the death of Attila surprised everyone. No serious preparation for his succession had even begun. Indeed, Attila became the king of the Huns after the death of the Khan Oros without any problem. The revolt of Arderic was also a surprise. The biggest hazard was the death of Elik in 454. But now the young Khan Ernak holds power over the Huns of the Black Sea steppes. There are many Huns on the Danube under the direction of Gearsum. I think that in a great steppe will soon appear new strong empires. By the way, what are the fates of Wonges and Edecon?" Wonges with his wife returned to Greece and settled in his hometown where they became the most respected citizens. Edecon was until recently king of the Sires. His son Odoacre is now the Roman general. Salvien asks a direct question, "You and Wonges, did not you have problems with Roman justice?" "Indeed. You were fighting a lot and successfully against the Roman armies." Orestes shakes his head. "Never. I have remarked during all these years that all intelligent people understood very well that Attila was a noble man, that he respected Roman civilization and wanted to save his acquisitions. In addition, we were invited by the government of Constantinople, who preferred to see us as citizens rather than advisors to the Huns kings. We have received guarantees of our personal safety and the inviolability of our property. After the death of Elik and the revolt of Arderic, we were free and did not see much interest in staying in the steppe." Salvien continues his extraordinary interrogation. "Now the Roman army is composed almost entirely of barbarians. They begin to occupy the best lands, behave like masters." Orestes answers with assurance, "The Huns love the steppes. They never claim land and return to their country after service in the cavalry. I want to start negotiations with Ernak and Giazim on the recruitment for the service in Italy of the Hun Cavalry Corps under the command of the veterans of my army. The present Roman army is extremely heterogeneous and uncertain. I dream that my son Romulus will be the founder of the new Roman Empire with a disciplined cavalry and professional infantry. You remember that Avitus became emperor thanks to the support of the Visigoth army. But the Visigoths soon left Italy with an astonishing carelessness to resolve some business of their kingdom, and Avitus was overthrown. Then the same story was repeated. When the Burgundian king Gondebaud proclaimed emperor his soldier Glycerius. Do you recall now the reign of Suvis General Ricimer, who placed 4 emperors successively on the throne, beginning with Majorian and finishing with Olybrius? Salvien agrees. Certainly, Attila would not have changed so frequently the emperors in case he refused to wear the diadem of the Roman emperor himself. Orestes says, "It is possible that Honoria perished as Aetius only after the death of Attila. In this case Attila and she would have become 2 co-leaders of the Roman Hunnic Empire even without getting married. If Honoria had perished earlier, Attila could quickly convince the Roman Pope Leo to put on his head the Roman imperial diadem. There could be other solutions. In the Western Roman Empire, after the death of Attila, the Visigoths, the Burgunds and the Suevis tried to realize his ideas. But they had neither strong prestige nor the political genius of Attila. A breathless officer enters and reports the insurrection in the army. The warriors demand 1/3 of all the lands of Italy. Orestes smiles bitterly. I did not have time to negotiate with the Huns. Now it was the Herules who decided to try to seize power in Italy under the direction of a former soldier of the Hun army who had fought on the Catalonian fields. Who will do it tomorrow? Maybe the Ostrogoths. But all these people are weak. They have not enough strength to realize all the ideas of Attila, even if they had noble chiefs with excellent abilities. I am afraid that this anarchy will continue for many centuries. He gets up and gives the accolade to his interlocutor. This is our last conversation. Farewell, Salvien. The camp of the Skyers and Herules is agitated. Odoacre stands on a platform and tries to calm the Germanic soldiers. I call you to patience. It cannot be denied that the army does not receive 1/3 of the tax revenue. But it's temporary, with the Huns mercenaries, who will soon be engaged. We shall conquer the Visigoths and convince the Burdons to pay to Rome 1/3 of the proceeds of the taxes of Gaul. Orestes promises us after these victories to considerably increase your pay. The soldiers interrupted him with cries and threats. No great promises. The immediate increase in pay. Down with the Huns. Down with Orestes. To arms. Odoacre raises his hand. The soldiers stopped shouting. I will send Orestes your demands. Stay calm. I think he will give in. An officer rises on the platform. The war against the Visigoths will be very hard. King Eric is unbeatable until now. We are all in danger of dying before the increase in our pay promised by Orestes. While the Huns horsemen with their powerful bows avoid hand-to-hand fighting, and it is they who will have everything because war is an activity that is not very dangerous for them. Cries of indignation arise thousands of mouths. Down with Orestes. To arms. The officer continues. Let Odoacre talk to Orestes. But why should the emperors always be Romans? If Orestes refuses, we shall proclaim Odoacre as emperor. The air trembles with cries of enthusiasm. Long live Odoacre! Long live the Germanic emperor! To arms! Odoacre blushed and makes a gesture of protest. When the cries stop, he addresses the soldiers, "In no case will I be a Roman emperor. Besides, the empire no longer exists. We currently control only Italy. But you can give me more weight in the negotiations with Orestes if you confirm my legitimate rights to be king of the Scyres and Herules like my father Edecon." The officer, who always stands by his side, exclaims, "Vive Odoacre, the king of the Scyres and Herules, the king of the nations, the king of Italy." The soldiers shout, "Long live the king! Long live Odoacre!" 4 warriors climb up the platform and raise Odoacer on a shield. The camp of Pavia. Orestes interrupts Odoacre. "I cannot give in to the demands of your soldiers. Ernak promised to send the detachments of the cavalry quickly. The agreement is already signed. In this case, civil war is inevitable." The soldiers are very angry. The patrician looks sadly at his general. "How could you betray my confidence? Make you proclaim king of Italy." Odoacre begin to tell the story of the revolt of his soldiers. Orestes makes a sign, and the soldiers of his guard draw their swords from the scabbard and encircle Odoacre, who cries, "The soldiers wanted to proclaim me emperor. To calm them down I asked to simply confirm my legitimate title of King of Scyres and Herules as successor of my father Edecon, your friend. My name is Orestes, is a noble hero of legends. I held my name high and I was always faithful to my friends," thinks the patricius and approaches Odoacre. "Yes. Your father Edecon was my great friend for 40 years. I cannot kill his son. You are free." Orestes closes his eyes and thinks with anguish, "To what ends will my fate now lead me?" The enraged warriors of Odoacre attack the camp of Pavia, break the resistance of the troops of Orestes. The son of Edecon, implicated in spite of himself in the revolt against the best friend of his father, convinces his officers with difficulty to let him speak with Orestes before its execution. Seeing the wounded patricius, his heart tightens. "God forgive me, I cannot release you. But I will save your son and your wife." Orestes comes alive. "My life has been long and interesting. I'm not afraid of dying." But the Germanic soldiers became uncontrollable. "How can you save my family in these conditions? I will take power again with the help of my brother Hunulf, who will soon arrive in Italy with his warriors. The Scyres and the Herules will obey us. But you have to calm your warriors now. I know it. They will only calm down after your death." Orestes is silent. Odoacre supports his gaze. They hear the sound of arms and the rumor of menacing voices. The patricius said slowly in a surprisingly calm voice, "You're very upset. I see him. Thank you for your promise." Odoacre speaks with tears in his eyes. "I swear in the name of the Lord our God, and by the memory of my father Edecon, that I am ready to sacrifice my life to defend the lives of your child and his mother." Several years later, the magnificent villa of Lucullus, Neapolitanum, in the Gulf of Bai. Romulus admires the rocks pierced and vaulted, the large ditches to introduce the seawater around the buildings. He speaks to his mother who feeds fish in one of these canals. "The empire died with my father." Odoacre declares himself to be only the king of Italy. Fortunately, he does not touch the Senate and other Roman institutions that continue to function. Odoacre has told me that he emphasizes that the death of Orestes was not premeditated by him, that he did not aspire to the imperial power. I believe it because he does everything to ease our grief. We live safe and carefree with an income of 6,000 gold pieces that he has granted us. So, I was the last Western Roman emperor. Yes, my son. Your father was proud that you bear both the names of the founder of Rome and his first emperor. He didn't have a few weeks. The first Hun detachments were already on their way to Italy. Orestes could have lived for several more years. His health was excellent. Once he said, "I dream, after having lived a laborious life, have a joyful and quiet end." Guess my answer. It will hit you. Romulus looks at his mother, sees how confused she is, and guesses, "Maybe you said, like Lucullus." Julia smiles sadly. "You understand me perfectly," I added, laughing. "I hope that your dream, after having lived a laborious life, to make us live in a superb villa that will resemble that of Lucullus, will be realized one day." We were so happy. Unbelievable. Your words have come true, and we live in this famous villa of Lucullus, described by Plutarch and other great writers. You know, I want to write a book about what might have been the world of my father's dream if the Germanic troops had not revolted, or if Attila had lived longer. Julia looks at her son with a great tenderness. You read a lot of books and enjoy talking with philosophers. Now you have no rival in all branches of culture. I encourage you to write books about your father's noble dreams that we shared with him and his extraordinary life. I'll write them because I have a lot of time. The time that my father and his friend Attila lack.